Chapter 18 Zephyr B. Zephyr B had his back turned to Rebecca and me, and he was gesticulating wildly to the other runners, guards, and the sentry that was not Hurricane. "What are you all doing?" the Queen asked. "Kill them!" They all looked over their shoulders at the Queen, kind of laughed a little, and then went back to talking to Zephyr B. The Queen pulled something from her pocket and put a ring on her finger. As she did and pointed her finger, rocks and dirt began to move to create a huge wall. It was going up 10, then 20, then 30 feet. Then, just as quickly, it fell. The Queen smiled coldly, watching the mangled legs of a runner and a guard she had crushed. "You really think you can just ignore me?" the Queen yelled. Hurricane walked up to her. "You are only making this harder on yourself," he said, and we could see he too had a ring on his finger. He pointed it at her with a straight face. She scowled, but then sat down, defeated. "You are a lot nastier than the prince, but at least you know when you are defeated," the hurricane said. We all sat around and waited. I promised Rebecca things would work out. Rebecca said she wished her temporal implant still worked, as she didn't think she would ever calm down. "We will get by. Things will work out," I promised. When the sun started to set, Zephyr finally came up to Rebecca and Hurricane and me. "I have some good news and some bad news," he said. "What's the good news?" I asked. "They're going to be letting us go. They promised to help cover up our disappearance so no one goes looking for us again," he said. "So what is the bad news?" asked Rebecca. "They are going to put the Queen on trial. But they know as well as you and I do that there's no way she is going to be prosecuted," Zephyr says. "That's to be expected," I said. "The way you were talking, I was afraid the news was worse." I gave Zephyr a hug, but he didn't respond. "You should thank the others," Zephyr said. "Right," I said, bowing my head to the guards, the other runners, and the sentry. "Are the ones with the crushed legs going to be okay?" I asked. "The mole rats helped to carry away most of the rocks. I do not think there will be any permanent damage," Zephyr said. "That's good. I'm so glad this all worked out," I said. "People are reasonable if you know how to talk to them, Cloudy Sky," Zephyr said. "Bless the living forest," I said. "And bless the living desert as well," Hurricane said. "So you two plan to leave Zebra Nation?" I asked. "We are going to miss it, but it is a huge world out there, Cloudy," Zephyr said, "and Hurricane has been working for years to build connections." "As dumb as you are, Cloud, you pushed me to making changes. I have been putting off making my move for years, but I always knew that one day we would have to do it," Hurricane said. "Do what?" I asked. "Reconnect the world again," Hurricane said. The sentry and guard had tied the Queen up and were prepared to carry one of the runners whose legs had been hurt. They waved to get our attention. "Thank you," Rebecca said to them. "Thank you," we all said in turn as they turned to leave. "Maybe one day they can join us and we will see them again," Rebecca said. "I hope so," Zephyr said. "So what now?" Rebecca asked. "Just the four of us aren't going to make it very far in this world." "We can start small," Zephyr said. "We all have skills. I can run and Cloud can talk to animals. We will all do what we can. We will survive and we will be free." "I know how to study obscure technology and read boring books," Rebecca said dryly. "I'm sure you know more than you realize," Zephyr said knowingly and with a broad, genuine smile. "So again, what now? What's the plan?" Rebecca asked. Hurricane smiled. "I have a plan," he said. "There's someone I know that lives near your Alpha City." "That sounds like a place to start," I said, "but I think we should start tomorrow. It's starting to get late." We all agreed and set up camp. A simple fire, some grass for bedding, and a few biscuits Hurricane made with his interesting ring thing. "What exactly is that ring?" I asked. "It's not a ring, it's a molecular organizer. Uses basic laws of physics to move matter," Hurricane said. "Very useful for creating food, building buildings, drawing water out of the ground," Rebecca said. Interesting, I said, and we all stared at the sunset. The night was quiet. Everything seemed to be falling apart and coming together at the same time. I slept in fits and starts. Zephyr watched me as he watched the fire. I finally dozed off at about midnight. In a dream, I saw us heading east. I saw us heading into Alpha City. "There's something you need there," my mother said. She didn't say any more. I rubbed my eyes and couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned and eventually got a few more moon turnings of sleep. I fully woke up at dawn, a faint hint of dew covering my lips. I looked around and it was just the four of us. It felt so surreal. I still could not believe we were alive. "So just like that, they're gone," I said. "Just like that, everything has changed," Zephyr said. "And without so much as your runner's pack, my technology, or really anything of use," Rebecca said. "They had to make up a story about our disappearance. They're going to say, 'You murdered me,'" Zephyr said, and then he whistled. "That's dark," I said, and watched as a huge stampede of bison appeared over the horizon. "You idiot," Hurricane said. "Why did you call the bison?" "I thought Cloudy could talk to animals now," Zephyr said. "It's not that easy," Hurricane said. "It's not magic. Even this ring isn't magic." "Of course not," Zephyr said. "But that doesn't mean it's not real. You can do this, Cloudy." I closed my eyes and listened to the bison. They were yelling. They were going full bore. They were not going to stop. "This is suicide," I yelled. Zephyr smiled, grabbed us, and threw us under a rock while the stampede went by. "That was the dumbest thing you've ever done," Hurricane said. "I've only known you a day, and I agree," Rebecca said. Zephyr smiled. "I agree. It was dumb, but so is giving up. Do you think your mom would have wanted you to give up?" "Whatever, let's get to Alpha City," Hurricane said. "My mother in a dream said that we would find someone there, someone we needed to see," I said. "Well, thank you for stating the obvious, Cloud," Hurricane said, and we all started walking. We walked under the desert sky, gathered some water from cactuses. The bison cleared a path for us. "And look ahead," Zephyr said. "There are birds everywhere." "There are," I said, and I smiled. "But what does that change?" "Every animal, every rock, every moat does not simply add to the landscape, they change it completely," Zephyr said. "Or have you forgotten?" "The birds will find the insects, and the insects," I began. "And the insects will guide us where we need to go," Hurricane finished. "This is all very cute," Rebecca said. "But what is the point of all of this?" Zephyr shrugged and just followed the birds as we walked forward. "You know, his relentless optimism is kind of refreshing, although I'm worried it might be bordering on delusion," Rebecca said. "It's not a delusion to have hope," Zephyr said. I rolled my eyes along with Rebecca, and we followed the insects. We walked part of that day and then the following dawn and dusk, resting at the height of the day's heat. We finally arrived near Alpha City, but we stood at the way station without a destination. "So where are we going, Hurricane?" I asked. "I know who I need to see, but I don't know his exact address," he said. "Tell the name to the AI. It will help us get there," I said. "I'm trying to find Abraham," Hurricane said out loud. Rebecca backed up a few steps. "Wait a second. Are you looking for an Abraham 13G? A researcher?" Rebecca asked. "Yes," Hurricane said. "He's my father," she said. "You have a father?" I asked. "One that's not even living in a forever box," she said. And so we told the AI where we wanted to go, and in an instant we were in a gray box maybe 10 miles from Alpha City. Zephyr remained silent in thought. Rebecca looked scared. It was quiet. Rebecca motioned for us to stay behind her. She peeked around the corner of the room we had been transported to. "Papa?" she asked. There was a weak sound and shuffling of steps. "Papa?" Rebecca repeated. The shuffling stopped, and then so did Rebecca. In front of all of us was a small, shriveled old man. "It can't be," he said. "It is," Rebecca said. "I'm sorry I left home." The man smiled. "It's okay. You're here now." "I'm surprised you didn't hook yourself up to the AI, Rebecca said. The old man laughed. "I knew you would be back. Besides, that's not much of a life," he said. "I guess not," Rebecca said. So who who are your friends?" he asked. "You're not going to believe this," she said, "but this one says he knows you and they are from Zebra Nation." "You can't be Hurricane," the man said. Hurricane smiled and hugged the man. "It's so good to meet you," he said. "So, are you ready?" Hurricane asked. "I never thought I would meet you," Abraham said. "Of course I'm ready, although there are not as many of my friends around as there used to be." "Anything helps," I said. Hurricane smiled. "So how many of your friends are there still out there? The ones who chose not to turn themselves into machines?" The old man smiled. "Maybe a few dozen. Most of them walked away, some died. Their kids went back to their computers and technology. It was easier. It was safer. But I guess it wasn't better," Rebecca said. No matter how difficult life is, the real thing is better. "Did I tell you that I'm glad you're back?" Abraham said. "I'm glad to be back," Rebecca said, and smiled and cried as she hugged the old man. "I told you there was hope," Zephyr said to them all, breaking his silence.